Over the past 6 weeks, I ran experiments on two ventures to test core business assumptions about market demand and friction. For Assured Book, I tested whether removing technical and cognitive barriers would reveal genuine purchase intent versus performative engagement. For Deep Feedback, I validated problem solution fit while identifying the fundamental trust barrier preventing conversion. This assessment demonstrates learning progression from previous sprints, strategic experiment design over micro-tactical optimization, and data-driven decision frameworks for pivot versus persevere choices. I'm presenting my Sprint 28 assessment using a Google spreadsheet instead of the standard Miro board format. The spreadsheet documents my product market fit experiments over the past 6 weeks. You can see links to my previous assessments from sprints 5, 8, 12, and 19, which show the learning progression that led to these current experiments. I'm testing two ventures, deepfeedback.ai and assuredbook.com. When partner dependencies blocked Deep Feedback at week 2, we pivoted immediately to AssuredBook. Complete mobile-first redesign delivered 2 weeks of validated data, 40 waitlist signups, 45 testimonials, 500% engagement increase at zero cost. Strategic agility over perfect conditions. Real-world experiments don't wait for ideal timing. I'm presenting traction experiments for two ventures, deepfeedback.ai, an AI research tool, and AssuredBook, Jody Mack's professional development book for women. Deep Feedback achieved 26.93% click-through rates, 10 times industry standard, but zero conversions, revealing a credibility market fit problem. AssuredBook showed strong buying intent with 20 to 25% response rates and 54% testimonial conversion across audience segments. Both demonstrate data-driven pivot versus persevere decision-making from complete experiment audit trails. Deep Feedback entered this module with validated problem solution fit from Module 1. Over 5,000 comments confirmed founders fear building wrong products and struggle with messy qualitative data. Our real-time adaptive questioning solution had strong conceptual validation, but we hadn't tested the critical business risk. Can we acquire customers? These experiments asked, is there a viable path to traction, or should we stop? That strategic question, not tactical feature optimization, made these experiments matter. We ran two acquisition experiments for Sprint 19. One-day direct messages, 51% response rates. Google Ads targeting founders, 26.93% click-through, 10 times industry standard, zero conversions. Not a demand problem, a trust problem. Market interest was proven, but credibility prevented conversion. 80% of traffic was mobile with horrible responsiveness, 29 clicks, 1 page. We fixed infrastructure, mobile responsiveness, 1.8 second load time. September relaunch, 26.9% CTR, 9 times industry average. The bottleneck was execution, not demand. Path forward, build targeted landing pages per keyword cluster, scale after hitting 3% conversions. At $10 daily, we're building the market playbook. Partnership dependencies paused this experiment. We identified the mobile problem, 90% traffic, but execution barriers prevented validation. Not failed, paused until constraints resolve. Learning. Identify controllable variables and how partnerships delay validation despite correct strategic direction. Conventional wisdom says pivot at zero conversions. Our data tells a different story. With 26.93% CTR versus 2 to 3% industry standard, this isn't a traction crisis, it's a trust crisis. People desperately want our solution. Something blocks the transaction. We hoped our 6-week credibility sprint would follow a tested B2B SaaS framework. Establish authority through thought leadership, demonstrate proof via testimonials, build community through user validation. Mobile fixes are tactical. Credibility building is the strategic unlock. We'll put this one on hold for now while we iron out the problems with our partner. The rest of this assessment I'm going to focus on assuredbook.com, the marketing site for Jody's book. As you can see, I'm presenting the laptop version of the site as well as the phone layout. The phone layout will play a crucial role in the strategy we took in this test. Where we left off in Sprint 19 was that we showed we could get engagement with users, but not traction. Our assessment was that there were too many technical hurdles in the way of users interacting with the site once they got there. The strategic question driving this assessment period is, does removing technical and cognitive barriers reveal genuine market demand or just performative engagement? Let me walk you through how we've systematically validated and scaled Jody's book, Assured, to go from original hunch and lean canvas to the initial engagement experiments. In Sprint 8, we defined our lean canvas and ICP. We identified that women in business face profound struggles with self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and toxic workplace dynamics that conventional resources fail to address adequately, leading to our core hypothesis that her book Assured could fill this gap with practical empowerment and actionable insights. To de-risk this publishing venture before major investment, we developed a 6-layer validation pyramid that progresses from conversations and beachhead support, 90 contacts for ICP validation, through content marketing, entry-level products, books, premium offerings, courses, to high-touch services, workshops, and coaching, with the critical insight that true validation comes from layers 01 to 02, where potential buyers demonstrate support through testimonials and newsletter signups before any financial ask. We identified 3 distinct customer segments: book purchasers, individuals seeking personal empowerment; service purchasers, corporate buyers with training budgets; and empowered insiders, beta readers, and community builders. Applying economy of force to focus resources strategically rather than overcomplicating our market approach, with each segment interconnected, yet maintaining clear boundaries to ensure focused value delivery. Sprint 12's comprehension tests validated the message clarity beyond a doubt for all 3 ICPs. Let's look at what we learned. Sprint 12 tested whether our landing page messaging resonated with 3 distinct customer segments we'd identified in Sprint 8. We recruited 15 participants, 5 book purchasers, professionals battling imposter syndrome; 5 service purchasers, DEI decision makers with $5,000 to $25,000 budgets; and 5 empowered insiders, workplace advocates sharing wisdom from toxic experiences. The results validated our messaging clarity. All 3 segments exceeded the 80% comprehension threshold, with service purchasers achieving 92.7% comprehension, empowered insiders 90.0%, and book purchasers 87.0%. More importantly, personal relevance ratings hit 4.7 to 4.8 out of 5 across all segments, with action likelihood at 4.6 out of 5, proving that while people clearly understood and connected with our workplace empowerment message, the question became whether they would actually act on that understanding, which set up Sprint 19's engagement experiments to test if high comprehension would translate into real behavior. Sprint 19 showed that we could engage our ICP, but while we could get them to the site, they weren't interacting, downloading chapters, listening to narrations, with the content, and they were confused about how to provide surveys. That's if they weren't coming to the site on a phone. If they were coming to the site on a phone, they didn't interact much and went away. Were they not interested, or were they stymied by bad presentation and technology? Our hunch that set up the risky assumption for this assessment is, does removing technical and cognitive barriers reveal genuine market demand, or just performative engagement, ... Sprint 19 proved scalable engagement targeting 50+ endorsements. 2-pronged LinkedIn campaign. My 485 connections, Jody's 2,500 women's group contacts. Free chapters via beta reader landing page. Result: 318 prospects, 24% response rate. Key learning. My segment, higher contact, lower conversion at 18.79%. Jody's, lower contact, higher engagement at 24.64%. Audience message fit beats network size. The only problem was that while we were getting the traffic, only half of those who came to the site were satisfied with it. And only the diehards who knew Jody well, a little over half of them, that started the surveys finished the surveys. And they all complained about the download process. We had to reanalyze and fix a few things, which brings us to this sprint in our current test loop and hypotheses. What I'm going to present is that the hypotheses, the hunches, were correct. We redesigned for mobile first, got rid of technical barriers, re-engaged the community, and achieved the strategic goal we set out for the book in the first place. Now let's turn to our version of the Miro board for this assessment. You can find the link to the actual file in the references at the beginning of this deck. What you're looking at here is the strategic foundation behind every experiment we run. This isn't about micro tactics like button colors or subject lines. It's about testing the core assumption that three very different audiences can be brought into one ecosystem to solve the problem of women's career transformation. That's what the rubric calls an experiment of strategic importance, and it directly addresses the need to show our experiments come from a prioritized, genuine challenge. As before, we didn't use the Miro board. We did build out a custom spreadsheet that holds our problem, JTBD statement, hunches, and rationale on one tab, and our experiment map on the other, and presented that in our assessment for Module 2, Sprint 19. Now let's add the test we focused on for this assessment. Test MOOP 4 will reveal that the problem wasn't lack of interest. It was systematic friction blocking conversion at every touch point. Test 4, Mobile First Redesign, will prove the core issue. With 85% mobile traffic first visit and 70% mobile traffic of all visits, hitting a desktop-optimized site, we were bleeding engagement. Let's start with what we replaced. We replaced the desktop-focused design with a mobile-first design. The original site was designed by a book designer, not a web designer. Because we have a web designer on staff, we gave him this project and he redesigned it, coded it, and we relaunched within 2 weeks. We ditched Webflow and went back to what we know, Figma for design and Next.js for implementation. That reduced the cost for Webflow. We ditched BookFunnel for content distribution, even though it is preferred in the book industry. We replaced it with tried and true email capture turnstile downloads for both the audio and ebook formats. Canceled that subscription too. We ditched the Shopify waitlist system for a simple sign-up form for the waitlist, powered by our publisher. Another subscription we could cancel. We kept the LA Growth Machine LinkedIn campaign system and just rewrote the contact chain. We also kept our CRM system Go High Level, as those were working just fine. We also kept our survey tool, deepfeedback.ai, merely simplifying surveys by eliminating chapter-based input for one longer survey and a simple one-question testimonial. The old website was rife with problems, from not being mobile first to slow load times to confusing download systems, etc. On top of that, the designs didn't take into account above the fold and below the fold placement of content, not really focusing on core CTAs. The new site was designed with two core layouts, mobile first and standard laptop layouts, ensuring that all CTAs are above the fold where and when it counts. Also, multiple technologies were eliminated as well as multiple methods of end-user surveys. Because of this, redesign and redeployment were achieved in a matter of weeks. We used resources we knew, which also happened to be less expensive and a better fit, achieved redesign in record time, and most importantly, we are making our supporters ecstatically happy. Test 4 addressed a critical question. Was our 24% engagement with zero final conversions a demand problem or a friction problem? The answer became clear through systematic barrier elimination. With 85% mobile traffic hitting a desktop-optimized site, we weren't measuring true intent. We were measuring tolerance for bad UX. The mobile-first redesign, survey simplification, book funnel elimination, and waitlist validation systematically removed obstacles between engagement and conversion. The results prove those 318 engaged prospects weren't just interested. They were ready to act once we stopped blocking their path. Through Google Analytics, Deeb, and Microsoft Clarity, we discovered that product-market fit signals can be completely obscured by implementation friction. By systematically removing barriers, we revealed demand that was always there but couldn't express itself. 70.66% mobile traffic versus 28.74% PC perfectly explains why our mobile-first redesign yielded such dramatic improvements, returning users jumping from 7% to 28.75%. We were literally making 70% of your audience struggle with a desktop-optimized experience. The redesign increased returning users by 188%, 28.75% versus 10% target. And high intent jumped from 0% to 16.19%, validating that poor mobile UX was suppressing intent signals, not missing product-market fit. Survey simplification confirmed users wanted to engage, but on their terms. 15 testimonials, 10% rate, and 17 net new survey/testimonial combinations in a little over 2 weeks shows that removing complexity unlocked participation. Book funnel elimination demonstrated the download friction was forcing behavior rather than revealing preference. An 80% increase in downloads and the shift from 90% forced audio to a natural 60-40 audio-text split proved users wanted both formats when access was simple. Waitlist versus Shopify validated buying intent wasn't diminished by removing pre-purchase capability. 10 new waitlist signups with 0% net decrease proved people would signal purchase intent even without immediate transaction ability. And replacing a clunky e-commerce experience with a simple form actually reduced friction while maintaining demand signals. Together, these tests systematically eliminated every UX barrier between tests 1 to 3's validated engagement and actual conversion, proving the 24% response rate and 318 engaged prospects weren't just interested, they were ready to act once we removed the obstacles we'd inadvertently placed in their path. Each experiment shaped the next hypothesis with documented audit trails. Sprint 8's ICP discovery led to Sprint 12's message testing, informing Sprint 19's behavioral triggers. Strategic pattern, market understanding, then message validation, then friction reduction. We systematically eliminated uncertainty at each journey stage versus random tactical testing. Assured Book systematically validated every assumption with data. Sprint 12, message market fit. Sprint 19, 20 to 25% response rates. This sprint's tests, a huge increase in testimonial conversion. 40 waitlist signups prove buying intent. 45 testimonials create launch credibility. 0 acquisition cost. Unit economics validated before scale. We track customer journey progression, not vanity metrics. Proven model ready for replication. With reduced costs and better technical implementations. Bonus slide for you. From here, scaling will replicate proven tactics across 2 to 3 new LinkedIn women's groups. Mobile-first design, simple surveys, direct access, validated, not hypothetical. 100-plus waitlist goal applies our 20 to 25% response rate to new audiences. Critical metric, waitlist to purchase conversion at launch, proving willingness to pay.